Welcome to the What Now podcast. I'm your host, Amanda Powers. Follow along as I figure out how to go from feeling lost and at a crossroads in my life to hopefully, eventually, being found. If you have ever felt like you needed a change or pivoting from your current experience is necessary, but you just don't know how, join me. Wanderers are always welcome. Hello, welcome to What Now, podcast for Lost and Found. This is your host, Amanda. So happy to be here today as we record. Today is Veterans Day. Today is my father's birthday. So shout out to Mitch Powers for being a baddie daddy. I'm just kidding. That sounds weird. Why did I just do that? That was cringe. Ew. I'm just kidding. I love my father very, very much. And I did call him earlier today to say happy birthday. And he was inundated with a bunch of text messages from all of his children this morning. So he knows he is loved and cared for. And when this podcast comes out, my mother would have already had her birthday as well. So happy birthday to my mom, Leslie and Mitch. They are so cute. They are exactly 1 year and 1 day apart from each other. So November 11th and November 12th. November is a significant month for my family, actually. My sister-in-law, her birthday is November 9th, and then my parents are back to back, and then my uncle is always right before Thanksgiving, and my godfather is also in November as well. So it's a birthday heavy month. Busy time right now. So shout out to all my family members. Happy birthday. All my loved ones. Happy birthday. Anybody else that's listening, if you are a November baby, happy birthday to you. And congratulations, you've made it to another year. What a fabulous, joyous, wonderful privilege to have to grow older. So I hope all of you have had a wonderful day and get to enjoy your birthday exactly how you want to. I know birthdays are sometimes weird for some people. Some people celebrate them to the fullest. Some people celebrate the birthday all week. Some people get a birthday month. Some people want to be totally avoidant and don't want to have a birthday discussion at all. So for both ends of the spectrum and everywhere in between, I hope for anyone that's listening, if you had a birthday in November, that you had a fabulous time and felt loved and appreciated and had a good day the way that you wanted to have it. And for Veterans Day, also just want to thank all the men and women and individuals who have served this country and honored us with their lives and their service and their selfless commitment to protecting America and our freedoms and our position in the world, whether that came with great sacrifice, fear, redemption, and courage. It shall never be forgotten and will always be appreciated. And I hope that for any veterans or active duty members that may be listening to this show, this is and forever will be a military-friendly podcast, and I support the troops. So happy Veterans Day to everyone while we record. But what is up, y'all? How have you been? What's been going on? We've made it through Halloween. We had another election. There's been some results and fallout from that. Donald Trump is now officially the president of the United States for a second time. I had to take a little bit of space off of social media during last week when all of that was going down. There was just a whole lot of rhetoric coming from both ends of the spectrum, and to protect my own mental health, I did my best not to engage in it, but look for realistic input and examinations from both sides of the aisle there if I was going to engage with anything. I don't want to start this show without acknowledging what's kind of going on in the world right now. Hence the birthday shout outs and the Veterans Day, and just acknowledgement that we've spent now 1 week as probably what feels like a new nation, or what might feel like to some that the current world order is being challenged. And I think both perspectives are not wrong, but I just wanted anybody to know that might be listening, this is still a safe space for people of all political opinions and differences in opinion and perspective. I am not a political commentator by trade, do not have an education in this, do not have a background in it, and I'm not going to pretend like I ever do or ever will. Just because I worked in national security previously does not constitute me as a political advisor or talking head by any means, and I am not an expert in the government or how those things operate. I can only share from what my personal experience was like and my personal perspectives. But I do believe that all Americans, or members of the United States of America at least, have a continued responsibility to take action for their own lives and stand up for what it is that they believe in, and continue to seek out solutions that will bring prosperity for everyone, success for everyone, no matter what background, race, religion, belief, gender role, genders in general, lifestyle preferences, etc. Everybody deserves safety, prosperity, and opportunity to build the life that they want to build without infringing on the rights of others. And I hope that the current state of affairs can find a way to live up to that. And we are, as a nation, going to have to allow that space to exist and give it the opportunity to do so. So I hope that for anyone who's feeling really scared and really stressed out and worried about their future, worried about the country, I get it. I hear you. I have felt those similar feelings for a long time for lots of different reasons. But I thought it would be good, given the most recent changes going on in our country and some stuff in my personal life, that this episode could be an opportunity for us to talk about how to live courageously and cautiously, being true to who you are and what it is you want, but really not letting your anxiety spin out of control, especially when there are so many factors that are feeding into that anxiety, trying to sift through it all and figuring out, okay, what is within my control and what is not, and how to kind of manage both of those lists and what to do with both of those lists. So that's kind of my stance on that. Let's get into it. This week, we've had the political upheaval from the election and the fallout from that. And a lot of people were talking about how to manage your feelings surrounding the results and what to do with that. And during that week, I already had a heightened anxiety when I was also going through the luteal phase of my, of my period. So a very sensitive moment of the month for Amanda, or at least a heightened sensitivity, because I'm already just an empath and emotionally connected constantly. That week was a particularly sensitive week. And as we've discussed before, I am getting ready to leave for a girls' trip. And this is a rather expensive adventure that I have decided to participate in. And as a single income household right now, I sometimes feel a lot of my anxiety lately is financial related. And so I didn't realize that I had some anxieties really kind of building up on me until, the last couple of weeks. And it all just kind of spilled out last week. And I was getting really caught up in myself about what's in my control and what is not, and blaming myself for the things that were technically not actually in my control, and trying to solve for things that are not in my control. And then when I would come up empty-handed, it would just continue the spiral, because then it would continue the anxiety, and then the self-doubt would come in, like, how come you can't fix this? How come you can't answer it? Why aren't you trying harder? Why aren't you hustling harder if you're so worried about X, Y, and Z? Just fix it. Just do something, sell something, get something going, fix it. And I had to take a step back from myself and kind of acknowledge, really, where are these feelings of anxiety and fear and frustration coming from? And what's a realistic solution that I can do right now in this moment to address it? So that's where my head's been at lately. And I was trying to find some other podcasts where I could understand a little bit more about anxiety and see if there was something I could do to describe exactly what it is that I'm feeling, and trying to understand myself better, since this is my personal therapy's time. I don't know. This might be an unhinged episode, and I apologize, because it's coming up on the end of the year and my brain is fried, absolutely fried. But here we go. When I first noticed that I was having anxiety was a couple of days after the election. I was approached by someone to assist me with my podcast, and they had been trying to sell packages for opportunities to grow your business and how to do this. And granted, there are lots of people in the social media world and in the online digital content creation world. And they often encourage people, to join their team or download their masterclass or pay for their online trainings or digital products to review and practice with, and then use that to implement into your own business model to help grow your business. A lot of them will try and get you with the hook of like, you do these 5 steps and you'll gain hundreds of thousands of followers in X amount of time, or do these 4 things and watch your business grow from A to B, whatever the hook kind of is. When I stopped doing these 6 things, I grew from this much revenue per month to that much revenue per month, and so on and so on. And so it's because of my podcast and the way that I've been trying to target certain niches on the internet, I am now also being targeted by other people selling their digital products to me as a very micro influencer, very micro network that I have, kind of a thing. And so I wasn't surprised when this person tried to reach out to me to offer an opportunity. But just because we had met before and had mutual contacts did not establish a relationship, did not mean that I could trust them to follow through on whatever their offer was. And so they kept pursuing me with different opportunities at different price ranges, but they all kind of sounded the same. But there was no, that like whatever the opportunity was that was being given to me, the descriptions were relatively the same, but the price points were vastly different each time. And so I felt very confused about what exactly was being offered to me, and I didn't really know what to do. But in previous discussions of meeting this person, I had shared my vulnerability about, I've only been doing this for about a year. I do everything myself. I work full-time somewhere else, so I don't feel like I'm actually dedicated to this particular project as much as I would want to be if I had the time to. And I feel insecure sometimes because I don't feel like I'm doing enough and I want to make this work, but it's a slow process and I have imposter syndrome, or I worry about how to take it to the next step because I've never started a business before. I don't know what it's like to create your personal brand. Like all the clients that I ever work with in my marketing firm, they already have a brand. They were already an established business. I don't work with brand new entrepreneurs. We do serve those types of clients as well, but I don't work on those teams. I work on teams where the client is already well established, but they're coming to us for technical services or a particular type of sale campaign that they want to create, or more often than not, a recruitment marketing campaign. And so I work on things like that. But so I don't have direct training on building a brand and what efforts it would take to be successful in doing that specifically. And this person knows these things, and they know how curious and serious I am about pursuing this for myself, and because I had been honest with how I was feeling and how much I wanted to make this work, but how much I was still struggling, either financially to invest in myself just because I had done so much throughout the year, or how much I was moving forward or trying to take steps on, I think they could sense that. And instead of acknowledging my vulnerability about how I felt, they took advantage of that desperation and tried to give me a sales pitch about what I should do with my business. But at the time, I did not receive it as, a sales pitch. More so, to me, it almost felt manipulative. They can smell how desperate I am to find my life's purpose. They can sense how frustrated I feel, and they want to sell me a solution that may or may not work, that doesn't have, as far as I could tell, verified data from a previous user or a prior customer, or the customers that they did have that bought the same package that I was interested in were still actively going through that package process. And so they had not completed their package yet. And so because they didn't have it completed yet, they didn't have feedback yet. So I couldn't kind of review or meet another customer and ask them, hey, is this actually going well for you? Did you actually like this? Was it useful? And so I didn't want to hurt their feelings because we were friends, but I also really wanted to keep training and trying to learn everything I possibly could about podcasting. And it felt really pressurized because, the argument was mostly about like, well, it's the end of the year. Like, I don't want you to slip through the cracks. And these are all the different opportunities I can offer you, but they have a time limit on them and they're only going to be available from X to X time. And kind of like, ooh, man, if I don't take this now, I'm never going to have it. And so I was starting to get actually upset. And we were talking all about this through the phone, texting and stuff, but it was bubbling up inside of me and making me more and more anxious and more upset. And I couldn't put a finger on, why are you crying? Like, why are you so embarrassed to tell this person how you really feel or what your current situation is like? And I felt frustrated because it felt like they couldn't take no for an answer. And feeding off of that desperation, I was worried to upset them, but didn't know how to set a boundary for myself and just explain, like, look, this is truly it. This is my breaking point. I can't cross it any further. I have to take care of myself. And I started to think, like, Amanda, just say what you need to say. Be honest about where you're at. If they're that concerned about making money and you tell them you can't make money off of me, they will move on. They will go find another customer. They will stop harassing you. Like, you don't need to satisfy this person who doesn't know you that well, who, again, may not have the data that you need to confirm whether or not the money you're going to dump into this is worthwhile. And if they don't have that, don't trust it. Don't sit there and feel bad about yourself or let their sales pitch make you feel bad about yourself and then trick you into doing something you don't want to do. If you don't have it right now, it's okay to not have it right now. If there's an opportunity that's sitting in front of you, you have to listen to your intuition. That's one of the things that you've been trying to teach yourself throughout this podcasting experience. How do I reconnect with what it is that I want and what my future self is trying to tell me is a good idea? How do I connect to what my purpose is supposed to be, and making sure that everything I say yes to gets me closer and closer to that purpose, and anything that I say no to keeps me away from the wrong path. I eventually tell this person just like the straight up truth, like, hey, this is exactly where I'm at. I have to pay this amount in bills, this amount in student loans. I've traveled a lot this year. I don't have the extra money. I really don't. I am strapped, and that's just the God honest truth. And I would love to take this opportunity with you, but this is just not the right time for me. And it would be fiscally irresponsible of me to push myself out of a boundary that I cannot set otherwise. I cannot extend this, at least. And the person did respond back eventually and was gracious with their response, and they moved on. And it really, really upset me at one point and made me feel so stressed out. And I was talking to a friend later that same day, and they asked me the usual, hey, how you been? What are you up to? And for whatever reason, I told that person the truth too. They reached out to me, and I could have said, I'm doing great, or I'm fine, things are good, or work's fine, whatever, the usual, the usual mask that everybody's wearing and putting on, the usual one-liner when you don't really want to talk about how you actually feel. And when that friend asked me that, I actually said, well, to be honest, I'm really stressed out. This is what's been going on with the podcast. This is what happened to me today. And I felt so embarrassed and ashamed and disappointed in myself that I couldn't take this opportunity. And they were like, do you need it? Do you absolutely know that what they were offering you was going to work? And I said, no, not necessarily, or not based on past experience. There was like a 50-50 chance, but I straight up told them I don't have it because of this reason and this reason and this reason. And my friend said, okay, then if you're really worried about this and you're really upset, take the opportunity to calm down, take some deep breaths, and then let's figure out how to flip your mindset. Let's figure out how to transform that hyper-focused mindset on your anxiety and flip it to something beneficial. When we hyper-focus on kind of the problem that's in front of us and how it's making us feel, it can sometimes prevent you from coming up with a logical solution for addressing it. So think about what's the root cause of this anxiety, and build your solution around that, not around how this person made you feel, because you've set the boundary already for them and they've walked away and they finally accepted your no answer. So what can you do to bring yourself back to a calming space and reset that mindset, so that way you can take responsibility for your finances but not sit there in the suck for too long. And I was really grateful that that person had said that. And initially I did not feel any calmer when they said it, but I took the suggestion to heart how do I flip my mindset? And I started writing down manifestations. I am rich in health, wealth, and love. I have the power to shape my own reality. I embrace change. I am ready to step into my divine power. I am open to evolving into the person I want to become. I am lucky. Money flows to me. Etc. Like I started to write all of these things down onto sticky notes to kind of reset my mind. And so I would write it down, say it out loud, stick it to the mirror, write it down, say it out loud, stick it to the mirror. And now I have like 15 or something like post-it notes on my mirror. And every day since last week, when I was feeling all that anxiety and stress, anytime I'm in my bathroom, anytime I'm there, I reread them and say them to myself, either internally or out loud again. And as silly as that might sound, that actually helped. It gave me an opportunity to not focus on kind of hating myself in that moment or feeling shame about myself in that moment, feeling embarrassment in that moment, but truly to almost like distract my brain away from the anxiety signal to, hey, like, don't forget, yes, you feel like that right now, but over here, hi, hi, excuse me, I'm raising my hand, ma'am, you are okay. You have the ability to shape your reality and you can pull yourself out of this hole. You have pulled yourself out before. You can pull yourself out again. Truly, not a big deal. And then I slowly, came down from that anxiety cloud and kind of realized what was the root cause of why this person triggered. And the truth was that that person was not the catalyst. They might have been the final straw, but like that was not the original catalyst. And the original catalyst is what I realized is I still have a lot of frustration or shame around finances because money's still a significant conversation in my day-to-day life, in my upbringing. And I think a lot of that comes from the fact that I get to see behind the curtain with the family business and understanding more about how we were raised and what money did for us growing up and how my family has done their best to, kind of teach us and about money and about finances and about investments and what you can do to set yourself up for success later on in life. And I am still dealing with the shame of, or I guess the embarrassment, probably somewhat a little bit of envy with my friends that are still in the government or contractors, and they're making more than I am now for sure because I've been gone for so long, and like I know what the cost of living upgrades are, and I know what it's public information for what the government employee pay rates are, and I am not. My situation has not changed as often as theirs has. And I had to come to terms with myself and go, okay, but that was a choice you made. You left that career where you had a guaranteed opportunity and a guaranteed financial ladder that you could follow, that you knew was coming, that you could plan against. This life that you have now does not. That's reality number one. So when you make financial decisions, you're going to have to keep that in mind until you can find some other source of revenue in some way, whatever that may be, whether that's through a podcast, getting a different side hustle, getting a second job, or working harder at your current job and, showing up and offering to do additional work and see if there's something that you could work out with them. I don't know. We haven't tried that yet. Having a discussion next year during your annual review and kind of seeing, this is what I want to offer. This is where I think I can be, best suited for the agency, given that potential new responsibilities. I want X amount of a raise, whatever. I don't know. Figure out what your trajectory for growth is and go from there. There's nothing wrong with that. You have ways to get out of this hole. It'll be okay. But that's kind of where I realized, then when this person started trying to offer these things to me, it was triggering because I already know how much debt I'm in from traveling a lot this year and the weddings and events that I went to. But I had to take a step back and go, okay, where did all that debt come from? A lot of it comes from your student loans that you have to pay off every month. So the money that's going towards those student loans does not go towards credit card payments. What goes on credit card payments comes from daily living, because you're trying to protect your debit account so money doesn't get stolen from you. The credit card payments come from travel, and the credit card payments come from online shopping, which you should navigate and not do so much, and from ordering out, which you should navigate and not do so much, etc. And so it's kind of one of those things where I had to go, it's not this person's fault that you feel this way. What they said may have been upsetting, but the reason you feel this way, you have to take responsibility for yourself and responsibility for how did I get here. Nobody made you swipe those cards. Nobody made you go on those trips. Like, nobody made you host guests. Nobody made you do whatever. Like, you did all these things throughout the year because it brought you joy. You did all these things because you value experiences over staying home. You value creation over consumption. You started a podcast last year. So from October to October, you have spent X amount of dollars so far on that investment. That was a significant chunk of your money. That was a significant chunk of money that could have been spent on bills, that could have been spent on the student loan. But you didn't spend it on the student loans or the credit card bill. You spent it on yourself. So you've invested X amount of money into your business or into your future. And when I started to kind of go through the lists of what have I done this year that could have put me in this position and why am I feeling the anxiety around it, it was kind of like, oh, right. This was a pivotal transition year, but also a pivotal growth year. And in order to do that, you just kind of spread yourself a little thin. And now we can find ways to address it, to fix it. So in 2025, we're gonna go in with a fresh slate. We're not going to say yes to things that we do not need. We are not going to, where we were spending money online shopping, we're going to pivot that and put it towards either paying off the debt, paying down your student loan an extra time that month, or paying back whatever it is that you might owe left over. I don't know, whatever. You will find ways to pull yourself out, and you will not let this anxiety spin you out of control. You will not let yourself try and hide that stress or distract that stress with instant gratification otherwise. You're going to cut back on things that you can cut back on. I know that sounds insignificant, but you don't need that coffee from down the street. Just because you walked Dirk's at that new dog park and there's a really cool coffee shop next door, you don't need to go in and get it on your way in or on your way out. Just because you're coming home from the gym and you're passing by your favorite sushi place does not mean you need to roll in there and grab a couple of rolls before you go home. You don't. Go home. You've got protein, you've got carbs, you've got whatever it is you need in your home. Stuff like that, where I just need to kind of retweak what it is that I'm doing with my life, even at the macro level and the macro and micro levels, where the micro day-to-day choices are going to affect the macro decisions that I know I want to make or have the ability to make in the future. Like if a door suddenly opens in 2025 that I never thought would have opened or never thought that opportunity would come that quickly, I don't want to be in a place where the old me is still ruling or controlling what my decisions are going to be because it's so anxiety filled. I don't want to lose focus of what my actual goal is because I'm so bogged down with the minute decisions of every single day. But sometimes making small day-to-day changes at the micro level will have a bigger impact later on in life. They may not seem like an immediate change to my bank account, but over time, I will get to a better, more stable place. And so that's kind of the spiral I was going through this past week. And so it was already high anxiety from society with the election. It was high emotional triggering for me because of the phase of my period at the time. And I was already having some residual shame and guilt and frustration with myself financially because I hate feeling stuck and I hate feeling scared and I hate feeling trapped by debt. And that's a really hard thing to get rid of when you've had 10 years of student loan payments. It's just a monthly reminder of like, oh yeah, by the way, that $60,000 degree you got from Georgetown that turned into $80,000 in debt because of interest is still there. You still owe it. You got to pay that off for a degree that you now no longer use because you decided to go into marketing and podcasting. Cool. Good job, terrorist hunter. See? Sorry. Like, the way that you talk to yourself is going to fuck with your ability to move forward. And my internal discussion about myself and how I view myself is still kind of messed up. So my fear and my anxiety around addressing my finances is still really rooted in how I view myself as a person and whether or not I feel successful with the choices that I've made in my life. So I didn't realize how deep rooted the issue really was. And so to figure out how to balance between caution and courage, I needed more help. And so I was listening to some different podcasts, and in October, I kind of came across an episode from Eddie Pinero where he quotes, "We must be at once cautious and courageous, courageous in what does not depend upon choice, and cautious in what does." So when we are noticing an increase in anxiety or fear in our life, and we begin to have a frustration over the lack of control we have over things in our life, one of the easiest ways to address it is to take a step back and determine two things. One, what is in my control? And two, what is not within my control? Because you're never going to avoid hardship in your life, especially when you are on a path to discover true meaning or you're trying to derive purpose from your life. Avoiding hardship is impossible because it's your willingness to get uncomfortable, your willingness to grow, to transform, to create something new that will actually show you satisfaction. So avoiding hardship just further delays the inevitable. And when you're hyper-focusing on things that you cannot change, like past decisions, like I was with, you switch careers so you're not using that degree. You decided to go to that particular college when you did not have to, and that's how much student loan debt you have, and that's just is what it is. You have an unknown future. The path you thought you were supposed to be going down turned out to not be the right path for you, and you listened to your gut and you got out. But now you feel like a fish out of water constantly, or majority of your time. And when you're hyper focusing on these things that you cannot change because you can't fix the past, it's already done. You can't fix an unknown future because it has yet to be created. It's going to drive you crazy. And it's going to distract you from what matters, which is living in the moment right now. Creating solutions that fix how you feel or address how you feel right now. Not how future you is going to feel. So I think what helped me when I started to feel all of these things and all of these things piled up last week, one of the best ways that I could start that mindset shift was to create moments of momentum, no matter how small they were. Reminding myself, I can flip this negative circumstance and create an opportunity. So, all right, I'm being triggered by this conversation. How do I flip this? I am upset. I'm going to set a boundary and tell this person I'm exasperated. The answer is no, but thank you. And move on. Set a boundary, move on. All right, I'm still feeling anxious from that conversation. What can I do to kind of calm myself down and bring myself back to my reality? I'm going to write down manifestations. I'm going to write down affirmations. I'm going to save them in a place where I can see them every day. And I'm going to repeat them to myself when I feel exhausted or exasperated. Good. Okay. I am worried about my finances from XYZ reasons that we've already discussed, but from my previous decisions that have led me to this point. How can I take back control, fix that problem, reduce that stress? All right. There's all kinds of decisions. You can roll over your accounts into one just to make one payment a month. You can look for new opportunities on a new credit card where there's 0% APR. You can dedicate more money to the student loan payment to get out of that faster. You can talk to your financial advisor, see if there's anything new that you should be doing or additional saving you could be doing in other places, or buying more investment accounts, or I don't know. I'm saying words, but like you have people available to you. There are options available to you. You don't have to stay in a place where you feel trapped. Absolutely not. You know where the money came from, you know how to get it back, you know how to address it. When you thought you were going to go work for the White House and you did all those interviews and you made it through the background check process and you made it all the way to HR and you had a signed conditional offer and you were supposed to show up for orientation and training and then became unemployed magically for 5 months while the administration dismantled the department you were supposed to work for. Yeah, you remember that girl? That girl didn't freak out. What did she do? She got a part-time job. She kept interviewing at other places. She eventually got picked up by another contracting firm and she went back to work. She blew through all of her savings, but she rebuilt it again. Like, that girl existed before. She exists now. You got this. You can do it. Like, it's going to be okay. How about this? You have a dream of eventually writing a book. You're going to write a chapter. You're going to write a chapter about how you didn't let your anxiety gremlin ruin your whole day. You're going to write about exactly what you did in these steps to bring yourself back together, put yourself back in a mentally safe space. You're going to write a chapter about how to live cautiously and courageously. Two things that seem like complete opposites that can coexist. There was ways that I could move forward and create momentum that would decrease that anxiety, but also keep me moving in the direction that I wanted to move in this entire time, so that I did not actually derail myself before it happened. So even though I felt derailed, or I felt off, or I felt like a failure, the truth was I wasn't. And when I actually took the time to rethink, okay, how did I get here? Oh yeah. Because I did this, this, and this. That's how I got here. Oh, okay. All right. Are there ways that I can fix that? Absolutely. And that really, really helped, just kind of admitting the truth of how did I get here? What role did I really play in this? And what are ways that I can take responsibility that are not going to make me feel more ashamed or more frustrated? And so Eddie Pinero also kind of explained in his podcast, and I'm paraphrasing now, but he was saying how to move forward. So when you're moving forward one step at a time towards your goal, it's going to look like stacking sheets of paper. And I really liked this metaphor. And that visual is actually very significant. Imagine there's a desk in your house or in your room or wherever you are. And every time you walk by that desk, you lay down a sheet of paper. And when you walk by again, you lay down a new sheet of paper on top of that one. And each piece of paper is thin, right? Pretty simple, but very thin. And a week goes by. And every single time you walk by that desk that week, you add a new sheet of paper, and maybe you have 1/8 of an inch high. Doesn't seem like you've done that much because it's not very high yet. But now a month goes by, and every single time you've walked by that desk throughout that month, you've added a sheet of paper, and now you have 1/2 inch. A year goes by, and you have a whole inch of paper. Now you're beginning to see how thick your progress is. And that progress is that combination of micro and macro changes that you're adding to your day-to-day life. The metaphor is laying down that sheet of paper over and over and over again, taking steps to push you towards your goal, whether they seem congruent or not, whether they seem to be working in parallel or not. All of those different efforts that you're making throughout your day or throughout your month or throughout your year, those efforts stack up, and they stack up over time to create significant change. And when you look back at each of those individual things that you did, each of those individual sheets of paper, they will show you how much progress you've made, and through each of those changes, through each of those efforts. And the best part of that is when you go back and you think about that visual, or you look at that metaphorical visual stack of paper, the cool thing is that it shows you already have everything you need to succeed. Everything that you need to succeed is already inside of you. You already have the capability. Some of it has manifested, in skills that you're already aware of. And then the rest of those skills, maybe they just need to be nurtured. But it's going to be up to you to feed that, to nurture those skills, to water the water the parts of yourself that need help flourishing. And when you actually take the time to do that, you're going to watch yourself take off. You're going to watch your growth just boom and hit exponentially, right? Like keep going up, up, and up. But it's the day-to-day effort that you're taking to nurture yourself is what's actually going to help you see that progress and start to notice, all right, these steps matter. These steps are significant building blocks for what it is that I want to do and the type of life that I'm trying to create. And so if you're like me and you were kind of struggling between living cautiously and living courageously, trying to figure out where to invest in your future or to not invest right now because you're so stretched thin, do I go in this direction or do I go in that direction? Sometimes when you're stuck with indecision and need to come up with some kind of divisive determination of some sort, I want to remind you that what's stopping you now is not how much can I consume or obtain from others, but rather what is it that I need to cut away? What do I need to do to get this excess weight off? What's dragging me down or keeping me stationary that needs to go? What can I get rid of? Because I know sometimes people want to, at least in the industry that I'm trying to break into, it feels like people are constantly trying to sell me solutions to the problems that they think I have. And whether or not those solutions are actually accurate, I don't know. Whether or not those solutions will actually help me, I don't know. I still feel very naive to a lot of things right now. But I have to shift my mindset from I need to consume or obtain this information, as much information as possible from all of these different people and all of these different resources. I can't possibly trust every single person and invest the amount of money, what limited amount of money I have into all of these potential trainings or all of these potential master classes or all of these potential digital products from these other people that appear to be very successful. If I want to feel more free, I have more control over my decision making, or I have more control over my future, I cannot focus on what am I consuming from other people. I need to focus on what can I cut out of my life right now that is not necessary to my path, to my purpose, to my future. Let me make sure that I'm not dragging excess weight or bringing excess baggage to the next level for myself while I'm trying to level up. It's a whole lot harder to level up when you've got all that extra, what could be metaphorically extra crap. And if I don't need it, it goes off the list. It doesn't get to be included in this next stage of my life. What's dragging me down? It could be my feelings of anxiety and frustration and shame. It could be excess spending where I don't need to spend it. I could put that towards the safe debt or the current debt or whatever. What needs to go out of my life? What boundaries need to be set? What friendships do I keep or not keep based on whether or not they're going to help me in my purpose or in the destination I'm trying to get to? Do they deserve to be there with me when I arrive? If the answer is no, I don't need to keep it. That's all I've got for you for this week. I hope this has helped you in some way, at least acknowledge the anxiety or feelings of fear you might be having with your life right now. If you're struggling to figure out how to live cautiously and courageously at the same time, I am right there with you. Sometimes you end up having to destroy yourself in order to build yourself back up. And that is an incredibly daunting process, to look at yourself in the mirror and truly see yourself for who you are and for where you are in your life right now, and accepting when that reflection is not what you wanted. It's not what you're proud of right now. It's not what you thought you would have when you looked at it. But I hope that this podcast and these episodes and the show in and of itself will help you feel less alone, and it helps you realize that you do have solutions and you do have options for you, even when it feels like you are totally lost. You have ways to get out of this hole. You have survived all of these other obstacles before in your life, and none of them have completely destroyed you. You've regrown before. You've rebuilt before. You've recovered before. You're going to do it again. And I really do encourage you to make those two separate lists when you're feeling really anxious and fearful. What is within my control and what is not within my control, and build solutions around both of those lists. And from there, I truly believe you're going to get on the right path and you're going to get to where you want to go. But there are going to be moments in your life where you have to decide how to live cautiously and how to live courageously. But it's going to be true wisdom to know the difference. All right, that's all I have. I love you guys. Don't forget to like, subscribe, leave a review. Let me know how you think of the show, thoughts, favorite things, least favorite things, anything else you'd like to hear about, any other topics or guests you think I should invite. It would mean the world to me. Please share with me your ideas. Send me your DMs. I love chatting with all of you online. It's been so fun to get the feedback from people. You can always write to me at askwhatnowpodcast@gmail.com. I'm amanda.k.powers on Instagram, and you can reach out to me via the show notes or the description box of this episode. Please share with your friends, post on your Instagram. We love seeing that too. And let me know what you think. Let me know how things are going, whether or not you are living cautiously or courageously right now. I would love to hear about it. And that's all. Until next week, remember, wanderers are always welcome.